All right, good morning, everyone. This is Ron. Hope you guys had a great week. It's been an exciting week. Uh, so and well, let's start there. Let's see if we have any questions first before we get into any of that, I guess. See if we have any questions or comments. Anybody? Um, if there are no questions, then I had to work most of the week and I missed a lot of the convention, but I'd make sure and get up the next day and try to see some of the speeches. I missed Michelle's speech, which is the main one really I want to hear. I did hear Kamala's speech, which I thought was very powerful. But what did you guys think? Anything jump out at you that you thought was worth discussing?
Ron, good
Yes, ma'am.
morning. This is
Good
Barbara.
morning. How are you?
Hi. Um, Pastor asked us to listen for what's said and without going into each one of them because we may get into them later.
Uh-huh.
These are the things these are the themes that I heard.
Okay.
Lessons of the mothers. Shamala, who is Kamala's mother. Michelle Obama talked about her mother. Um, Malcolm Kenyatta, when he spoke, referenced his mother. Walsh referenced his parents, his mother. The other things I heard were blended family. In other words, mixed families, or
Mm-hmm.
families that uh, people from different worlds uh, have come together and been able to live happily. Other things were compassion, freedom, redefinition of freedom, really, opportunity, dignity, um, endless possibilities. Uh, Empathy was said to be a strength for Kamala. I heard community, faith, respect, look out for one another. I heard raised by uncles and aunts and others, not by blood, but by love, respect, treat others as you want it to be treated. Um, Lessons of the mother included don't complain about injustice, do something about it. Never do anything halfway. Everyone has a right to safety, dignity, justice. A harm against anyone of us is a harm against all of us. We are all in this together. Never let anyone define who you are. You show them who you are. All of those were themes. And then I looked at a lot of them which relate to basic principles of Maya. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought about things that we've seeded the universe with. And a lot of this, I mean, I have not even shared everything. Other people probably can add much more to that. But it just reminded me of all the things we've seeded the universe with. And some of these fruit are growing in others. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Bob. Yeah. Yeah, there was you're quite right. There were a lot of references to mothers, uh, and stories of my upbringing, how I came up. Almost one of the things that came to me because, like I said, I didn't hear all the speeches, but uh, a lot of people talked about their beginnings, how they, the thing that shaped them and who they were. So. Uh, those influences on them rather. So anyone else?
Just to add to Barb's list, good morning, everybody. This is Audrey.
Hey, Audrey.
Just to add to her list, um, one of the things I heard that wasn't said, but that was inherent in everything that was said was to move past fear and into hope.
Mm,
Or to move past fear and into your life.
yeah.
So that was a big one for me, because just in the last, I don't know, has it been 4 weeks? The whole atmosphere has just changed.
Yeah. Different energy.
Yeah, the energy has just changed. And it's because people began to think, wait, what? I don't have to be in that place. Anyway, so moving past fear, and we've talked about that a lot. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. One of the things I just want to share is what I saw with the Democratic Party, just in listening to them, all of it sound good. Yet, from a historical aspect, and this is more than opinionated, Democrats have never wanted to see me as an individual succeed. Because if I succeed, I'm not dependent upon them. So, in what you heard, if it inspired you, at the end of the day, it's going to have to be based upon maneuverability. And with some people, not saying y'all, or I may include some of you all, some people look at the Democratic Party as feminine energy, and they look at the Republican Party as masculine energy. But that ain't nothing to give no attention on. It's just that I heard what they said, and I'm just looking at their history. They have never wanted to see me succeed, because if I succeed, I'm not dependent upon their system. And it's just like that in life. Some people in their circle of trust, they don't want to see that individual succeed. They too afraid they're going to break away from them. So what they said was good. It didn't do nothing to inspire me. So what has their history been? And their history has been they always eat their own. Thank you very much.
Anybody would like to reply to that?
I do. The history of the Republicans, the history of the Democrats, in terms of party, both of them have been the same. Neither one of them has wanted to see anyone of African descent succeed. One wanted to keep just enough, let just enough succeed in order to continue to get the vote. The Republicans wanted just enough to succeed so they could say that they care about all people. Neither one of them really cared. That's history. The history changed. The way the evidence of the history changing is that this was an African convention. This was not a standard Democratic convention. It was a standard Republican convention. The Democratic convention, in every aspect of it, was exercised in primarily African cultural and events. Nothing ever changes until it changes. And there is absolutely nothing in me to make me believe that this is the same Democratic Party that came together to bring Biden to the presidency. The shift in all of this started with Ronald Reagan. I'm not going to go into the history of it all and bring you from Reagan all the way up to now. However, I will say to you, if you wish, what I saw. I made notes. As a matter of fact, I was not in a position to write things down, so I text what I saw to Kathy, and then I asked her to please send me the portions of that thread that I had sent to her, and she did. Of course, with responses. What I saw and what I hold on to, I don't know what Barbara's list consisted of because I wasn't on when she presented it. I don't know whether it coincides with this one, but I guarantee you, whatever her list was, the spirit, the essence of it is pretty much what I saw. I didn't hear it, but I just believe that. First of all, let's take this into account. The Democratic Party was the party of slavery. The Republican Party, the first president of the Republican Party was Abraham Lincoln. The Republican Party was organized for the express purpose of ending slavery. It was done by liberals or abolitionists. However, when they got their first president elected, he and the people around him simply sought to save the Union, to keep the Union from splitting, because there have been a circulation of thoughts that when Lincoln won, especially the second time, that he was going to end slavery. And that was not the case. Hold on for 1 second, please. Okay, Lincoln was going to end slavery. So in Charleston, Lincoln got 0 votes. Now, here we are. Know that the Democratic Party is the party of slavery. And I said that Africans are bringing democracy to America. Every one of us probably has heard someone make that statement, that it will be us who bring democracy to America. Kamala Harris, let's look at some statistical stuff or some markers here, some spiritual markers that I saw. First of all, Kamala Harris is the 47th president. 4 plus 7 equals 11, which is a gateway. Obama was the 44th president. 4 plus 4 is 8, new beginning. Between Obama and Kamala are the slave owner and the abolitionists, Trump and Biden. Obama brought the energy of the founders to the forefront, because when he was elected, the Tea Party organized. The Tea Party was nothing more than the energy of the founders of this country seeking to keep the status quo, or to maintain the status quo, in that they did not want an African to be president. Trump exposed the energy of enslavement. Everything he did pointed to the energy of enslavement, and Biden exposed the energy of hypocrisy, the hypocrisy of the liberals. So Kamala will be the energy, or is the energy, of unity and the essence of balance. That was one of the responses I got from Catherine. I sent this to her. Michelle Obama, I listened to her speak, and it's something I gathered from her, and that is that Michelle Obama could not run for office because Michelle Obama is the village mother. That's the energy she represents, the energy of the village mother. What does that mean? Just like we have a mother's board in our churches, African churches have a mother of the church, and then they have a mother's board, and that consists of the elderly women in that church. Michelle is the energy of the mother of the village, who is guiding the global energy and giving birth to a new heaven and a new earth. Giving birth to a new heaven and a new earth means that she is bringing a sense of enlightenment that the earth has not experienced as a whole, thus changing the earth consciousness to coincide with the enlightenment of the divine. Any questions about that before I continue? Comments? Does it make sense so far?
Makes sense.
Yeah, I can see it.
The issue of abortion is the manifestation of the opportunity to choose the energy of spirituality and the energy of earth consciousness, which is being replaced and repurposed. What's being aborted is what was, and what's being brought into existence as a matter of choice is what is, and what has been throughout the annals of time, but has not been projected by humanity. And this is the major part to me. Because of all of what I have been shown in reference to this convention, what the conclusion is, the white men in this country has reached the apex of their power. The Southern power structure has clashed with the Northern power structure. The energy, the power structure has been replaced, has been repurposed with the foundation of being a nation. That's what I saw during the course of this week. And the reason I say this about white men having reached the apex of their power is because of the embracing of this African woman to be president, to be the leadership in the earth. The way the convention was structured, the way they were on board with her being president, and the way that the Elon Musk and the Bezos are scared to death. Even the Microsoft dude represents, what's his name?
Gates.
Bill Gates.
Yeah, Bill Gates presents a conciliatory philanthropic front, but Bill Gates is one of the most ruthless men in this country. If you look at the donation that Bill Gates has made to different places, you will find that the only reason he made those donations is because he wants something from them. And he's getting far more from them than he is giving. And the more that he's giving is that he made that donation. It looks like he got a tax break, but that was an investment for him. All of them are afraid. And the reason they are afraid is because this is the first time that someone who is seeking the office of president has made statements that sounds like the ones that Elizabeth Warren were making and Bernie Sanders when it comes to taxing billionaires and when it comes to a shift in the distribution of wealth. This is the first time that they have not felt like they can control whoever is coming to office. That is one of the reasons they shifted their support to Donald Trump, even though in the beginning they were supporting Biden, because they felt like Donald Trump is the only one who would keep them in power. So, based upon what I have been shown, my conclusion is that there has never been a political event, a political convention such as this one. There has never been this much energy, even during the period of Obama. He did not generate the amount of energy and change that this convention did. Even with Obama, the energy in the earth did not shift with Obama the way that it shifted with Kamala. And I'll give you an example. The shift in the energy in the country with Obama was with African people worldwide. With Kamala, the shift was with all people, regardless of their ethnicity. Primarily, the shift came between the African and the European. And the major shift came from those quote unquote suburban white women that everybody talks about, simply because of the abortion issue. But they see that being manifested as a personal thing and don't see it as a spiritual reality. And working white men, just like black men don't work, working class white men that everyone talks about, that shift came when you looked at two things. One was the auto workers union endorsing her in a very powerful, visible way. And the break, the Teamsters Union showed its colors. The Teamsters Union has always been racist from day one. And when the Teamsters Union leadership spoke at that convention, the Republican convention, the Black caucus of the Teamsters Union endorsed Kamala Harris. And they asked him, he said, how does it feel to break with their union leadership? And he said, I'm not breaking with my union leadership. I didn't ask them for permission. I just did it. So if I didn't ask for permission, it's not a break. And then after that happened, the Teamsters Union, the international leader of the Teamsters Union wanted to speak at the Democratic Convention, and they told him, no, that's not going to happen. Now, the last thing I want to say about this is, at this moment, is this. We need to put something in the macro. And that's something we need to put in the macro is this. Kamala Harris cannot make a decision about Gaza. She is still the vice president. And she cannot make a decision about what she's going to do about Gaza, because that's antithetical to what Biden is talking about. And you have to respect leadership if you are a part of that leadership. Knowing that the day is going to come when you are going to be that leadership. She has put all kinds of hints out there. If she was going to do the same thing that Biden is doing, Netanyahu would not have gotten upset with her when he met with her privately. We have to put that out there. She cannot make any statements definitively about Gaza until after the 5th of November. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know who is leading the Palestinians, but I agree with their protests, but you politically, knowing what the circumstances are, you take that protest to a point, but you don't push it like you believe nothing is going to happen. You're trying to force her hand. And I do not blame them for not allowing Palestinian leadership to speak at that convention. Once someone gets a mic, you can't control what they say. And it could have been devastating. I don't believe that she should have done that. Now, my pain for the Palestinians is real. I promise you that. My pain for the Palestinians is real. However, the Palestinians who were in that area are not indigenous to that area. The Palestinians were forced in that area when they built the dam in Egypt. They were forced into that area. Prior to their coming into that area, the people in that area would look just like us. And the British forced them in that area. So what am I saying to you? I am saying to you that the Palestinians, prior to 1948, cared just as much about us as Netanyahu. They were Arabs, just like everybody else, just like the rest of the Arabs. Only thing they did was push us out of Northern Africa and called it the Middle East. And the reason they called it the Middle East is because the Europeans, inclusive of America, of course, wanted to control that. I'm done. Thank you. And George, I hope I responded to I hope I responded to what your sentiments were.
I was waiting to see if anybody had any questions about what you said, Pastor. I have another question somebody asked. Sent me a text too, if you're ready for it.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
What do you think about Bill Gates's ex-wife? I kind of feel like she's moved into sort of a mother role too.
Pastor, are you talking?
I love her.
Okay.
I think that she's doing a great job in what she's doing more than he is in terms of philanthropy. Okay. Hello. Okay.
Well, Reb, quick question for you, and hopefully you and I can do the research on it together. Since the George Floyd situation, by him calling out on his mama, that has really been a corner for humanity. I can just look at everything that has taken place from Mr. Floyd calling on his mama in that situation. I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris. And I'm only voting for her because the connection of how Reverend Richard put it with I like Michelle Obama. And if she wasn't too much attached to this, I may not even vote at all. Yet I think Michelle Obama, her energy plays a big part in guiding Miss Harris and whatever decision that she got to make. Yet nonetheless, though, Rev, I think when George Floyd did call on his mama, because that was a cry humanity heard even in Belfast, Ireland. You know, people protesting. This ain't This ain't cool. So I think that from there, looking at where we are, if we could just, hey George, this is what took place, blah 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 blah. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Let me say something to that, please. If it had not been for Michelle, you said you would not have voted for Kamala. You may not have voted at all, which means that you voted for Donald Trump. Now, let me tell you how committed I am to this. If Michelle Obama had never spoken, or if she had said that Kamala should not be president, it don't matter to me. If Kamala Harris showed up at a brothel in knee-high boots and a miniskirt, I still would vote for her before I vote for Donald Trump. If they picked her up in the street dead drunk from my after party, I still would vote for her before I vote for Donald Trump. There is no way in the world, all my life, since I have been voting, all my voting life, I've had to vote for the lesser of the two evils. And for the first time in my life, I feel like I don't have to vote for the lesser of the two evils. I have an opportunity to vote for someone who has influenced the world, not is going to, but already has influenced the world. And if no one was standing with her, everyone else was standing against her, I still would vote for her. Because I feel so deeply the presence of the ancestors in the way that things are moving. There is no way on God's green earth that the amount of energy that came simply from her being placed at the top of that ticket, that amount of energy has never been experienced in this earth. I'm not just talking about Democratic Party. I'm talking about humanity. That energy has never, Obama's energy did not touch this energy that was expressed with Kamala. This woman was placed at the top of the ticket, and 44,000 African women did a Zoom call. And then I don't remember I think what, 60-some thousand white women did it next. And then Black men, and then white men. That has never happened before. I'm saying to everyone on this call, I'm saying to everyone who's listening in the macro, that this is a major shift in the energy of the earth. The universe has spoken in no uncertain terms. And there is no way, there has never been a consideration for me not to vote for her. I have already made, long before the Democrat convention, I made plans to be at the inauguration. That's how committed I am to this. This is how deeply I believe that she is the one who the Creator has appointed to lead humanity. And I don't mean her as Kamala Harris. I'm talking about what she represents, the energy that she represents. I'm talking about when I talk about Michelle, I'm not talking about Michelle in terms of a woman as much as I am about the womb that has birthed everything in terms of this political atmosphere. The womb who seeks no power for itself, the womb who sees the opportunity for those who exited their womb to stand in a place of power for all of mankind. I see that out of that womb came a womb, and that womb that was brought into existence is purpose to do something that maleness could never, ever do. That womb, males have never been in a place to do what this womb is doing now. Men have tried to do it and have messed it up. Even when you listen at the message that Obama gave during his run for president and as president, you do not hear the same message that's coming from the mouth of this feminine energy in the form of Kamala Harris. It's totally different. Totally different. And if you think the energy is the same, then you two, both of them side by side. And you will see that there is a depth of authority with her that did not exist with Obama. Obama was there to bring out what was hidden, and what was hidden is the real nature of white men in this country. And what Obama did, Obama opened the door for it to surface. If it had not been for George Bush, Obama would not have been elected. The only reason they went with Obama is because the economy was so bad, they did not see it being fixed. What they saw was a 1930 type depression on the horizon. They put it on his back, and we did not go into that depression. Donald Trump inherited Obama's economy. And that's why these African men who are ignorant as hell is talking about they had more money with Trump. Yes, you did, because he inherited Obama's economy, and Biden inherited Trump's economy. That's why it is so different. I'm saying to you, and it's taking a lot of words for me to say it, because I want to be emphatic about it. And I don't want anybody to misinterpret what I'm saying, and how deeply I see this as being a divine move. I promise you, anyone who challenges a divine move will end up the same way just Barbara did in Atlanta, who took Trump's phone call. Now nobody goes to his shop, and it serves him well, because he chose to embrace a racist man. Let me just say that. I'm trying to be kind here. A racist man who has no interest for anyone at heart except himself. And anyone who supports or even thought about supporting Donald Trump is just as selfish as he is. And if they're a person of color, they are ashamed of who they are. I'm done. Thank you.
I think one of the things that you brought up that was very interesting to me is in the past we've had to choose the lesser of two evils. This doesn't feel that way at all. I had not even thought about it from that perspective, but that's a freedom in and of itself. So just
No
want to,
question.
yeah.
Good morning. This is Kathy. Kind of a quick question for you too, based on everything that you're saying too, Pastor. When we looked at the feminine energy being that magnetic charge, the magnetism, are we not seeing with the physical, well, I'm going to say with the spiritual eye and the physical eye, the draw, that magnetic draw, is that not being played out from what we can see being represented of, like you've said, you know, there's only one race, but for the sake of understanding today, we'll say being played out with drawing all of the races and as far as male, female, it didn't matter. Is that not what we're seeing happening through what she's representing right now, that magnetic pull, the energy that feminine energy is?
Yes,
Hello, everyone.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Hello, everyone. This is.
Sheldon.
Oh, go ahead. So,
Okay.
oh,
Kathy,
yeah. Okay, sorry.
she is. And think about this. We've been saying this for quite a while. It's not about the color of anybody's skin. It's about their mindset. It's about the energy that they embrace. So yes, this is totally different. And it is, no one can draw to them or attract to them what an African woman can attract to them. No one. That's why, that's the reason she is seen as, femininity is seen as magnetism. It bursts everything, and at the same time, it draws everything that chooses to embrace the Princess of May. Does that make sense, Kathy?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Sheldon?
Yeah, so I wanted to speak on that, and George's original.
Go ahead.
When it was spoken about what the Democrat Party has done and represented it for so long, that has absolutely changed and is totally different now. If you think about hello, can you still hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, okay.
You're kind of low,
Uh,
Sheldon.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, the Bluetooth switched over.
Okay.
Okay. Can y'all hear me again now? Clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, what I was saying was, what the Democrat Party has represented thus far from its inception until recently has been that what George mentioned earlier. However, it is totally different. It's been a huge change now. If we look back at most of the Biden, for example, even administration, Kamala was looked at as being not so good, maybe absent, and terrible VP. People were questioning, asking, where she's at, what she's doing. She didn't have this outpouring of energy and support behind her. And because, of course, it was because she had to be subservient, or was in a position of being subservient more so to that same old energy and leadership. As Pastor mentioned, when you look at the huge difference, the whole sudden difference that no one could even, really, more so fathom of her becoming the nominee, that major shift. At first, she was just looked at, and I'm more so talking about from the political and from the double I perspective, but not the single I perspective. It was hope that, maybe wishing on a star in the sense that she could save, democracy or whatever. And I think a lot of people were not in tune with that aspect of themselves to actually understand and feel that spiritual power or see it right there on the brink. It wasn't until they actually, pretty much when it was like, okay, Kamala is now in position, that all of a sudden it was something that people, I'm gonna say, was lying dormant in them. And maybe they don't even understand it, especially trying to understand from an intellectual standpoint. What is the push? What is the excitement? What is this thing that they feel nurturing about, or they have completely left from fear to being embraced and secure? When Audrey mentioned maybe a month or two ago about that child who was able to walk away from his mother when it feels that support and comfort because is there and they're, just free, like people have all of a sudden in their spirit gotten a glimpse of that. Now, all of a sudden, Kamala is not, just looked at as, what Pastor Richard said has been thus far is voting for the lesser of two evils. She's literally looked at as the superhero, and not even to the point where the superhero, as they say it from a political standpoint, that they believe is going to save democracy. They hope to save democracy, but literally to absolutely do it. Like it is a done deal. When we talk about prayer and meditation, and we talk about to the point where no longer wishing something, but actually embracing it and feeling it at that particular point, and it becoming first a thing that one actually experiences first, and then it comes to fruition in a physical standpoint. The nation and the world is doing that right now. But the nation and world has moved into a meditative state where, if you will, the 42 laws of Maya that we put in the macro and we have talked about, the earth is starting to actually embrace that, not knowingly, but embracing it, being drawn to it and going to it more so freely. Only those, and not to speak disparagingly about them, that are not able or haven't been yet able to do so, or those who are trying to hold on some sense of power, regardless if they have the power of not. Feeling some, we wonder, why do some people lean a certain way? It's even the sense of having a proximity, excuse me, of power, but not really doing so. For those who have let go, and many who have let go for the first time, or experiencing that which what we have been talking about. I'm finished at the moment.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. This is GC. This is George Clark and Philly. Can everybody hear me?
We hear you, GC.
Yes, sir, GC.
Okay, my man. What I wanted to say was, Sheldon, and what you said, I definitely concur. And what it makes me come to believe is that the cosmic Maya has always existed, but it has been resurrected in a way that globally we're able to appreciate not just the principles of Maya, but looking at the ancient system of its morals and values that have guided thought and behavior in terms of in Kemet. And with that, the feminine energy, the energy that has been put out there in the macro, is one that we all can appreciate in terms of being able to see that balance being restored. And it was said, and until the return of the Black cosmic mother, things have been unbalanced. But I think that we're now beginning to, I believe, not just feel, but to know that it's the spirit of who we are that's now creating this energy flow that, again, I think surpasses all understanding. And not just the women, or the feminine energy that spoke, but I think that it was the observation, in my opinion, that you could see the masculine energy, coming into, I think, what I want to say, some kind of balance where we can appreciate order. And so my last thought was, in terms of our Vice President, Tim Walsh, to see him in sync, or I would say in harmony, with Kamala, it made me appreciate order. And to look at his son, who had, the spirit of joy, happiness, hope, in terms of seeing his father being in that atmosphere. But I want to believe, too, the respect that the vice, that Tim Walsh has in terms of appreciating, demonstrating that balance. So I can't, again, explain it all in totality, but I think that definitely the energy is flowing, and I think it's from the Black, cosmic mother who is putting that out there in the macro. I just wanted to share those thoughts. I'm done. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you, George.
Hey, thank you, Rev, for whoever gonna yield to me. Mr. George, thank you for your response. Yet the question I got for you, Mr. George, you said balance twice. And the first time you said balance, you said it kind of animated, and then the second time you said balance, you said it more animated than the first time you said it. Now, this is where I stand, Mr. George, out of Philly. By way of balance, see, Donald Trump is not okay. I would go on record saying Donald Trump is not okay. However, he is necessary for balance. That's what I like about feminine energy. That's what I like about masculine energy more so. It's not okay. People can't see no good in it. Yet just because it's not okay, it does not mean it ain't necessary. So by way of balance, and this is just how I get down with it, Donald Trump ain't okay. Yet is he necessary? That's the question I have for you, Mr. George. Is he necessary for balance? Or if he ain't necessary for balance, and Mr. George, you ain't got to answer that now. You can take as long as you want for him.
No, but I think, George, as you mentioned, we've been in prayer and meditation about truth coming to the light. And in this truth coming to the light, we can see that, again, there's a reason for Donald Trump. And that experience in terms of us being able to bear witness to his energy, it definitely has created more of a universal awareness that we can appreciate where opposites meet. And again, this is where now we're able to move forward in terms of looking at, what is now generated in terms of new possibilities coming into being. So I think that Donald Trump has a purpose. But what we want to do is be able to, again, appreciate the principles, of Mayat, and at the same time being able to share that love for mankind, that we can deal with the truth, we can deal with righteousness, we can deal with, harmony. So without a doubt, I think his purpose is important in terms of where opposites meet. I'm done. Hopefully that's helpful.
Hey, thank you, Mr. George, out of Philly.
Good morning. Can I add something to that?
No, not really.
I'll do it. Spiritually speaking, balance is just want to clarify the concept a little bit. Balance is not an equal measure of one thing on one side and one thing on another.
Right.
Balance speaks more to harmony and more to stability and peace within the relationship between things that appear to be opposite or on whatever part of the spectrum they exist on. So I definitely agree that Donald Trump was allowed to be a catalyst for balance, but that doesn't mean that he has to be there in the sense that he needs to be the equal measure of whatever else is present. Like there does not need to be an equal amount of him and an equal amount of somebody not like him. Another example, there does not need to be an equal amount of evil, quote unquote, in the world and good in the world for there to be balance. That is totally out of balance. That's 50% off balance. It is only that the presence of somebody like Trump is a catalyst for balance to basically force us to realize the need to come back to a state of harmony. And in that sense, the balance that we are seeking is not like an equal amount of what Trump represents. It is to essentially remove what Trump represents or to heal or transform it on some fundamental level. Also, has anyone looked up what Kamala's name means? Kamala.
I haven't.
Kamala is from Sanskrit, and it means lotus. or pale red is like another name, but I think lotus is the actual one. But in Sanskrit, the name is both masculine and feminine. And it's only in more sort of modern times the name has been more associated with women. And it's the name of a couple of other things, but the fact that that name is both masculine and feminine speaks to the she and that energy she represents and the hope that she's had generated around her and what she represents, speaks to the return to balance that she represents. And again, that's not literal like equal amount of men and equal amount of women in the name Kamala being both masculine and feminine. Rather, it speaks to a harmonization of the relationship between masculine and feminine that we have to return to. So the balanced relationship between the masculine and feminine is basically found, well, further exemplified by the fact that it's Tim Walz that's the VP and not Shapiro. Because as soon as they picked Tim Walz, I was like, that's why I sent that text. I was like, okay, we might be back on a good timeline. Because Tim Walz has been one of the most empathetic governors. And that is exactly the direction that him being representative of sort of European consciousness has to go in order to redeem itself and to bring harmony back to the planet. But that can't, that consciousness cannot lead itself. It must be led by African femininity in this case.
And that consciousness was based on, her decision was based partially on intuition, which decidedly, if she had been a European male seeking to choose a running mate, it would have been based on other things. What's in it for me in terms of enhancing my power, enhancing my electoral votes, enhancing whatever. But that spoke to me very loudly when out of all of the other individuals, she selected him, and it was based on a conversation and connecting, in a sense, at a different level than usual. Thank you.
Barbara, Nick, what I was told is that there was one question that separated Walz from Shapiro. When she asked Shapiro, what did he think the responsibility of a VP was? And he gave her a list of things that he felt like the VP was supposed to be responsible for and to take charge of. And she asked him once the same question. Walz said to her, to do whatever it takes to help you. That's the difference. Shapiro was the arrogant European mindset, and Walz was, I'm submissive to whatever you need me to do. That's what came to mind when you were talking. I'm pointing at you like we're sitting across from each other, but anyway, when you were talking about rather, her having to choose Walz instead of Shapiro because of his attitude. I was told by someone who knows him very well before the decision was made that it would be a huge mistake to choose him because of his arrogance and his undying commitment to Israel, regardless of what he says on the surface. I'm done. Thank you guys for yielding to let me make that statement, those statements. Nicholas.
Pastor. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm
Oh.
sorry, I'll yield. Go ahead.
I'm done. But yes, very much agree. And it is those tiny little inflection points that the influence of what is in the macro has not necessarily the biggest influence, but the most important influence in that moment in terms of deciding the direction we head in. Thank you.
Kathy, George yields to you.
Okay, thank you, George. I have a quick question. You may have said it at the onset. Did you give the name of Shamala, her mother? Did you just say a little while ago what that name meant? Because I like the information that Nick shared on Kamala, but I'm hearing shaman in Shamala, and I'm just wondering what that name meant. And in reference to the necessity of the energy of a Donald Trump, of course, that was necessary because I don't know if people remember, but for a long time, things were unbalanced. And when we would say foul, things are unbalanced, we were told we were playing the race card and it made you question whether you were seeing what you really saw. When the energy of Trump came on and the arrogance of that energy started to say those quiet things out loud, to say in your face, I will show you what I will do to you, and there's nothing you can do about it, and I will keep you in your place. Well, all of that had to be uncovered and exposed totally, so that there is no question about that, so that when harmony and the balance in the way that it was described by Nick just now is the way I see balance too, but all of these things take place and start to really manifest, and you see it before your eye happening, you recognize that this is totally spiritual. And so this whole approach can't be with just the analytical mindset that what I see through processing this through history and what I just think with my mind. It's got to be what you're seeing from the inside out spiritually to understand what's happening, because you can miss the whole movement if you're just looking at it from what it could be from the possibilities of history and analytically. We haven't been putting things in the macro for just a historical perspective to take place. We are doing this for a spiritual hold to take place, and that's what's happening. And if you are not spiritually aware and opening yourself up to the spirituality of everything that's happening, you'll miss the whole movement and you won't understand what's right in front of your eye. And so I just wanted to share that. So thank you for letting me say that.
Thank you. You're right. It's important to understand that, well, really, Kathy, in addition to that, if we look at the truthfulness of history, that in itself will give us a spiritual insight into what's happening also. If we are honest about what history has shown us. I don't think we can separate true history from spirituality, and that is the reason religion is so powerless, because there is no history to it. There's only lies accompanying it. George? GC, were you about to speak?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I just wanted to thank, Nick for his clarity, in terms of, looking at the word balance. I think sometimes, we or I may look at a word and look at it in terms of tradition of what the definition may say, but I think in terms of being able to understand it spiritually, even have more, more relevance. And so I just wanted to thank him for that clarity. Because again, as I said before, sometimes we can look at it, just from a dictionary standpoint of what balance is, but the spiritual aspect of it is even more important when we talk about language and linguistics. So I just wanted to, thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
Good morning. This is Mary, and I just want to say this is an exciting time. I'm excited. This week I listened to the whole convention. I don't usually do that because I feel like it's a lot of rhetoric and I just not into it, but the excitement, and I just felt full hearing the ladies, all of the women speaking, especially when they did the roll call, and also on stage, and then the different ethnic group nationalities that were represented. It just made me full. It was just awesome. But I thought about it when Kamala spoke, and she talked about, you know, her mother and her father were immigrants. And then I thought about Obama. His mother was Caucasian, but his father was from Africa. And I was wondering the significance in that, because they're not from the slavery, like from here. So, and I know that, I know she's still black and he's still black, but is there any significance in the fact that they weren't slave, what do I want to say? They didn't come from slavery, their family, their ancestors in the United States. Any significance in that? Does that make sense what I said, y'all? Because
It does make sense,
Well,
Mary. So,
okay.
I hope
And I don't
this
want to be
helps
negative, y'all,
you're
because
not
I'm
being
excited
negative,
about,
Mary.
okay, but I
Mary,
just thought about that. Yes, okay.
you're not being negative.
Okay.
Someone was saying something?
Well, one thing, Rev, that I find kind of intriguing about this with Joe Biden needed help from a black man, and he needed help from a black female. Joe Biden ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. I mean, he may be slightly smarter than Dan Quayle, slightly smarter. Yet, in both cases, he needed help from Barack Obama, and he needed help from Kamala Harris. So that's a part of that I find intriguing, that, you know, he had to experience that. That's all. Thank you.
Can I back up a minute before anybody else speak? Mary, did you have a question? Was that a question you asked about the
Well,
significance of
see,
their backgrounds?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I think we missed that.
I think so, because is there a significance in that? Because I know the universe does what it needs to do to get everything in place, and the fact that these people are Obama and Michelle are, I mean, Obama and Kamala are people of color, are African descendants. The fact that the universe did not see fit to bring somebody in who had ancestry with the slavery in the United States. So, because when I heard some of the guys talking, yeah, my grandma picked cotton and all that kind of stuff, but she nor he could identify with that. So my question is, well, I guess, what y'all think? I don't know. It just came to me, and I just want to know what you think. Or has that crossed your mind?
It has. There was a broad discussion on that when Obama was running. And the discussion was basically based on the question you raised, Mary. And during our discussions, the conclusion was that this actually forced us to embrace our ancestry. Keep in mind, the people of African descent who voted for Obama were people who were the descendants of enslaved people in this country. And the descendants of enslaved people in this country have been struggling for quite some time with embracing the reality that we are African. And that struggle came from the denigration of the African by Europeans. what happened with Obama, as we concluded, is by voting for Obama and embracing Obama as being us and us being him, that was the beginning of the embracing and the recognition of all Africans around the world, all people rather of African descent around the world, are recognizing that we are Africans in the diaspora. And even though Obama came from a European womb, Obama was still African. And that in itself started the movement towards, on a broader sense, let me put it that way, in a broader sense, toward defending Obama, embracing Obama, which means that we were also embracing the energy of the African, because we saw him as we are. Does that make sense, Mary?
Yes. And I see Kamala the same way. It's just the ancestry or the history is different.
The same thing with Kamala. Keep in mind that it does not matter who the other person or what ethnicity the other person is. If it is if it is an African womb that you exit, or if it is the African sperm that brings you into existence, you an African. You are that. I mean, that's just how it is. All of these breakdowns of ethnicity did not come from the African. The idea of Kamala's mom being an Indian did not come from people who live in India or anywhere else in this world who recognize themselves as being Indians. It came from Europeans. There were no identities based upon race until the European instituted them. There were simply people in this earth recognizing that everyone in this earth had its origin in Africa. That's it. So now, all of that's being rectified. And the way it's being rectified is reflective in the way the convention went, based upon the things that we put in the macro and what we put in the macro. This is not about the color of your skin, because all people are people. This is about changing the mindset from what? It's about changing the mindset of the European to the mindset of the African. Because it's the European mindset that made all of those separations. Does that make sense, Mary?
Yes, that makes sense. So, okay, okay. I don't know why the slavery, the history that people who were brought up in this country, you know what? I don't know. I need to ponder on that some more.
Well, Mary, the people who were
Yes,
brought up, the Africans who were brought up in this country had settled with being a Negro or colored or black. When black is not the color at all, black is the source of all colors. It's a substance that gives you colors. We have been Afro-Americans, African-American, we've been so many different things until we didn't know who we are. And now it's a difference. Why is there a difference? Because for the first time in years, we see ourselves beyond slavery. Prior to African History Month, Black History Month, Black History Week, Black History Day, whatever you want to call it, always went to the shores of Charleston. The enslavement, as far as our history went. When we began to move beyond that, it is then that we began to embrace the reality that we are not slaves. We were enslaved. And if you really think about it, it has not been that long since we have been talking about ourselves as being enslaved as opposed to being slaves. And that is a huge difference in identity from being being a slave and being enslaved. So we are moving in the direction of understanding that everywhere our feet trod it belongs to us, meaning that our consciousness is all over the world. And we have neglected to see that because we have allowed others to tell us, as Kamala said, to tell us who we are rather than showing them who we are. So that's
That
where
is
we
so. I'm
Mary, what
sorry.
you say,
Well,
Mary?
I was thinking about the fact that as we get further away from when we were actually, when the ancestors were enslaved, we're getting away from that. So when I think about my grandchildren, they won't be able to identify as quickly as I am with grandmama and granddaddy picking cotton and all that. That stuff is in the past. So now actually seeing who you are as a human being and not just someone that came out of slavery. I think the whole mindset is changing. So I just thought about that. So that's good. Thank you. I appreciate that. That kind of clears me up.
Let me add something, Mary.
Okay.
We will never, ever get to the place where we don't talk about our grandparents and some people. I've never picked cotton, but there are those I know who have. We would never get beyond that. We would never get beyond it because that's a part of our history. What I'm saying is that that's part of our history, but that is not our history. That is not the totality of our history. But we can never be in denial about it. We can never regret having to talk about it, because if we are about truth, then that's one of the truths that we have to make sure that not only our children understand, but anyone who wants to know the true history of our existence, we have to be inclusive of being enslaved, but never ever allow it to be the identifier of who we are, because we are far more than that. We were not slaves, we were enslaved.
That's true. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I just add something to just a point of history? Mary, her father was from Jamaica, and African people in Jamaica were enslaved at a certain point in time. However, they were freed in terms of their physically and in terms of their mindset long before Africans in the US. And then also in India, Kamala's mother is from southern India, which those people tend to be darker skin tone. They were basically enslaved too by the British. So even though she doesn't come from the US, her parents don't come from the US history of enslavement. Her ancestors did experience the same sort of thing. However, their mindset was changed much earlier than ours, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense, and thanks. I thought Jamaica, there was slavery there, but a lot of the stuff you know and then you forget. So thank you for bringing that back to my attention. Thank you.
Audrey, in addition to what you were saying, in southern India, the darker people in southern India are direct descendants of the Kushites. So they are descendants of Africa. Yeah.
And to this day, the darker people in India are treated a lot like people are treated in America. I mean, it still makes a difference. Skin color still makes a difference in other parts of this world.
Yeah.
Um, two things. I got a question someone sent me, but I want to ask while we're here. I didn't want to change the subject. I want to go, Pastor. You mentioned something on last evening. We were talking about the different types of levels of amount of jobs that the Republicans versus the Democrats have created in a certain amount of time. Can you go into that data that you were talking about? I think that's significant to put out there and to know.
When we were talking, what I actually did was made a statement based upon the Bill Clinton's research during his speech. He said that he was shocked at what he found when he did the research about jobs, and what he found was that between 1989 and present, there were 51 million jobs created in America. And he said that what really shocked him is that the score was 50-1. And what he meant by the score being 50-1 is that during that time period, 50 million jobs were created by Democrats and 1 million by Republicans from 1989 to present. That is remarkable. So that speaks volumes about where we are. It also speaks volumes about the Democrat and Republican Party in that the energy, if we had been in the Republican Party and we were in the place where we are now in terms of Kamala being their nominee, nothing would change. Because the energy of the Republican Party was to end slavery, but it was not about seeing us as equal to other people in the earth. The Democrat added 50 million jobs speaks volumes, because out of those 50 million jobs, the question becomes, how many of those jobs went to us? That's the question. Now, why did we have to be in the Democrat Party? The reason we had to be in the Democratic Party is because that energy of enslavement had to be repurposed. And that's what has transpired. I think the statistics speaks more to the abolitionist attitude of the Republican Party than anything else. That you are not, we're going to free you, but you're not equal to us. Whatever happens after you're freed, that's on you. Why do I say that? You earmark millions of dollars to those who previously enslaved us, but you offer nothing to us to get on our feet, knowing that we come out of slavery without anything. Lincoln did that. Lincoln bought us from Southern white folks. And he bought us by compensating the slave owners for their quote unquote loss of property, but nothing to us. So I think all of that plays into that. But again, the most important part of that to me is how many of those 50 million jobs went to us. I'm done. I hope that helped, Ron.
Yes, sir. It does. I just thought that it needed to be mentioned again. I'm gonna read a question that someone sent me, okay?
What?
I'm sorry,
Hello?
someone
Oh,
else.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, this is Sheldon. If you were going to, I wanted to speak right quick. If you were going in another direction.
Yeah.
Well, I was about to say regretfully. Regretfully, I missed what Nick's response was earlier because I got pulled away from the conversation. But I did have some thoughts as it relates to balance and the feminine and masculine. And like I said, I have no idea what Nick said. I wish I heard and actually wanted to hear what his response was. If I will, right quick, my thoughts in terms of balance and looking at it from, I think that's a misconception for many people, and just thinking that balance just means that they're supposed to be equal. And the thing where it is a mistake to look at is look at it from a power standpoint. Oftentimes, masculinity looks at balance as it's not even actually really balanced. It's actually having to be in control and have all of the power. If you will think about it from a standpoint, though, from a feminine viewpoint, it is not power that is the focus in what is actually taking place. Rather, if you think about a parent raising a child, it is raising the child well in a healthy way to be that the best that it can be while providing guidance, but not to limit it, but to more so empower it, but empower it responsibly. If you think about someone who is in martial arts, at the same time while they're learning the arts and the ability of combat, they're also learning discipline and learning to use that power responsibly, to use it discriminately, and while thinking about the care of others, not just using it without any control or without any maturity. When we talk about balance, and Pastor mentioned why Shapiro was not chosen, and that arrogance is because it would not allow for that to happen. And like I said, it's a mistake to think what we talk about as feminine energy is just trying to dominate, and control is simply trying to make the best. It is simply trying to bring a lot of the concepts that are inherent in us, and is actually even needed, not only for the humans, but just even, for example, the survivor of nature in terms of everything working together to help us and everything to be the best that it can be, which was more so definitely, as alluded to earlier today, more so what was spoken, kind of like one of the greater themes of the entire DNC. When Pastor was talking about, we talk about enslaved people, and when we talk about some of that energy from not necessarily from enslaved people, and how we had to see our roots back all the way to Africa and not through slavery. If we only look through our history through a enslaved people history or mindset, and it stops there, then we would then be caught up in that power dynamic and struggle and think that everything is just a fight, or jostling for power, looking at it as being powerless and always fighting for it. But the point is, power is always at the forefront. It is that big thing that is to be fearful that you're going to lose, or to fight to try to get. Going back to Africa and it being more of a nurturing nature, we are then able to go beyond and grow beyond that, and not be stuck in a sense in that cycle. So when we talk about balance, and I like how Waltz is in terms of his willingness to be open and not to dominate, almost to learn and be nurtured, so that masculinity, or serving as a point where masculinity, not necessarily to just, it's not being punished. Masculinity is not being put in this place. It is being put in a, I don't want to say more powerful place, but in a place where it is much more working along with the prosperity of the earth and not being a hindrance of it. I'm finished.
I think that was just beautifully done, Sheldon, as far as being icing on the cake. And,
Yeah.
and I think the thing that we have uncovered here today is to show that balance the definition of balance can't come out of a dictionary, at least from the perspective that we're looking at it. It is as you said, and as Nick and as everybody said, whatever it takes, whatever it takes, and that's what Tim Walsh said, whatever it takes, whatever I must do. So you think about a good example of it to me, that my family has balance, and your family has balance. Let's say both of you have a husband and wife and 2 kids, but they may function differently, but whatever it takes to bring balance into that household. So that's a great example of that. Just working together, and think about us, the journey that we have had, and looking at it historically, the way Barbara did a couple of weeks ago. Some of the declarations are, this is what we're wanting, and this is not going to happen on my watch, kind of thing. We want love, we want peace, we want these things. So whatever it has taken is where we are now. And we did not pick or choose the methods. We did not choose the politicians. We did not choose the Obamas. We did not choose the Bushes. We did not choose the pandemic. We did not choose the some of the other things that we've seen, but we have stuck to what we desire, and those things are come about, and balance does not come about without friction. There has to be some resistance. So I think we've done a lot in this last hour or so to really kind of talk about the fact that balance is something, experiencing what needs to be done to bring about the desired effect that you want to see. So just wanted to try to help with that, I guess, a little bit. Thank you.
But if it's not resistance, or if it's not friction, there's nothing to balance.
Yeah.
Everything is already there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So what I'm seeing, and what I want us to take note of is this, before you go to your question, Ron,
Yes, sir.
is this. All of our lives, we have been taught that we needed to pray in order to change things. And all of us have prayed. We've been prayer warriors. We've had prayer warriors. We have had prayer meetings. We have done everything related to prayer. But the moment that we took the initiative to see religion, to see Christianity for what it is, what did we see coming to our vision? That's when we began to see how much we are influencing society on a global basis. When we prayed for change, we ended up with the likes of Bush, Reagan, Clinton, the chameleon. We ended up with people like that. But the moment that we began to seek the truth and saw how the truth does indeed influence, we've begun to see a clear pathway to where we are now. So what am I saying to you? If we had eliminated the truth about history and only stuck to, you have to have a text from the scriptures in order for you to talk about spirituality, we never would have been where we are. We are where we are because we saw that there is no history to religion or to Christianity, to Islam or Judaism. There's no history there, which means that there is no foundation. And if there is no foundation, there is no history, there is no power, there is no influence. But when we started talking about the Kemetic influence in spirituality, that is when we saw change in a huge way. So if there is anyone who's listening to us now, or who's listening to us on YouTube or however, please understand something. This is what we do is not a lesson in African history versus European history. What we do is not anything versus anything. What we do is uncovering the truth, resurrecting the truth about everything that we are shown. And that resurrection of truth results in spiritual life and grants us a pathway to spiritual livelihood, which means that we are not just spiritual, we live spiritually. That's our lifeline. We don't have to quote a scripture to do this. We simply have to be true to our desires for humanity in order for us to have this experience. And that experience only comes with understanding the true nature of what history is. I'm done, unless there are questions or comments.
Thank you. You have a question, Richard?
I do. Just in passing, quickly, just something just bouncing in my mind just to try to settle. Maybe I missed it. I didn't hear either what I understand the substance of these two individuals discussed so much at the DNC, or certainly they were not invited to speak. And I just wonder if you had some thoughts about what happened to Stacey Abrams and Dr. William Barber, who Barber, at least to me, represents what I first started working on in the 60s. And there's a connection between the two, because I know Abrams has developed an NGO that deals with small business development and that sort of thing. And I just wondered why, if they weren't invited, why their initiatives, I guess, from what I understand, their initiatives to be, I missed them being discussed. Did I miss it, or what do you think's going on there? Because I don't see that as so radical. On the other hand, I did hear Barber speak, and he's right that he wasn't waiting around to be invited. What he's doing has a more permanent base in terms of development. I just wondered if there was some thought.
Thank you.
I have not heard why they were not. However, I did hear an interview with Stacey Abrams. And during that interview, she said that she was working towards Kamala's election. And her organization is registering people to vote as we speak and knocking on doors. Now, I have no clue as to why they were not invited. Yet I also understand that everybody could not have been, but I do believe that Barber should have been, if nobody else. Because what Barber is undertaking is the same thing that got Martin Luther King killed and the same thing that got Fred Hampton killed.
Right.
So, go ahead, Richard.
No, I got to get rid of some feedback here.
Okay.
Yeah, and to me, he is the inheritor, if that's the right word, of what Martin Luther King, the March on Washington, poverty, of all of that. And I just wondered, for heaven's sakes, you couldn't weave that in there in a fairly clear and important way. But you can't do everything in a DNC, and what they organized and how they pulled it off was amazing, but still, that was just, to me, a oversight. I don't know if that was going a little too far into controversy for that sort of a stage, but it would have been a wonderful, to me, I mean, just in passing, just
Well-
to have mentioned that, but okay, doesn't change the work.
Right. Now, Richard, honestly, if I had been Barbara's advisor, I would have told him not to speak. Because there are some things that you need to keep quiet. And I do believe that it was better for him. It is better for him to work outside of the mainstream, to stay away from publicizing what he's doing, because there's no doubt in my mind that there is still the possibility that he would be killed. And for those who don't know what he's doing, what he's doing is organizing poor people, particularly poor African people and poor Europeans in this country. White and Black people who are very low income are the ones he's bringing together. And you get killed for that in this country. Because there is a dictum that says in this country, you are not to bring poor people together because they are an unstoppable power. Now, I do see that it is, whether it is intended or not, a large portion of what this convention represented. I do see that what he is doing has been embraced without having said it by the entirety of the convention, based upon the economic policies that has been put forth and based upon the way that people from all walks of life embraced it. And if you really think about the people who appeared, most of the people who appeared, well, quite a few, let me put it that way, quite a few people who appeared are people who are of no prominence. They're just everyday people who was on that stage. And that in itself says to me that there is an outreach to exactly what Barbara is doing. And the other part of it is this: if it were not for the influence of some of those people who did speak, Barbara would not be able to do what he's doing. He would never be able to pull it off, because the places where he's going are major cities as well as rural areas. And those people, the leadership in those major cities has to meet with him in order for him to be able to function, to pull off what he's doing. Is one thing that most people do not know about the African community. If you are organizing in an African community in this country, you have to know who the leadership is. And if you don't, you will not be successful in what you're doing. So Barbara is in contact with the leadership in those different cities that he's going into. So he did not speak again. I don't know why he didn't, but I would have advised him against speaking. Now, Stacey Abrams is a different person in terms of me advising him not to speak. I don't see that one. For him, I would have said no.
Any other questions? While I read, I don't want to change the subject. We're not finished with that. Okay, someone sent me a question. The question says, the American flag has historically been tied to the Republican Party or the white nationalists. Has the DNC reclaimed the flag?
The flag. The American flag has always flown over countries that has been colonized by us. The American flag, if you follow the usage of the American flag, what you see is the flag is imperialistic and racist. Because the flag is embraced more publicly by those who are racist. And as the person stated, is embraced by those who have always stood against the African in particular. White nationalists embrace two flags. They embrace the flag of the North and the flag of the South. The American flag, the thing that has become the American flag, was embraced by the North and the Confederate flag by the South. Now, the flag that the Confederates fly is not the war flag. They had so many different flags in the Confederate during the Civil War. It's not even funny. But the Southerners settled on that particular flag. How did the DNC reclaim the flag? I believe that the DNC did not reclaim the flag. I believe that the DNC changed the meaning of the flag. Now, as far as the national anthem is concerned, when that was written by Francis Scott Key, it was not written as a poem as we've been taught in school. It was written as a song. And the music was put to that about a month after it was written. And it did not become a national anthem until 1916. In 1916, it became, by executive decision, it became the national anthem. In 1926, Congress voted to make it make it a law, saying that it is the national anthem. And so those two things, the flag and the national anthem, cannot be separated because they are inextricably tied together. So I think that it actually gave a different energy to that flag than what was there before the DNC. By the way, the Confederate flag that's being used is funny because it was the flag of the Democrat Party before Nixon.
Wow. Okay. Any questions, y'all?
Oh, Ron, let me explain this. It was the flag of the Democrat Party because the white nationalists were the Democrat Party, and that's the flag that they used. The white supremacists were the Democrat Party before Nixon.
Okay. All right, thank you guys. It was a great discussion. Again, if you have any questions or comments, jot them down for tomorrow or send them to one of us and we'll start there tomorrow, okay? Great discussion.
Okay.
Though. Hope everybody have a great day.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
everyone.